In this video, I'll be going over the last material of section 1.5. I'm going to talk about two things. One, the discriminant, which tells me something about the types of solutions my quadratic equation may have. And the last item is the Pythagorean theorem. So let's begin with the discriminant. The formula for the discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac. Now, if your discriminant is greater than 0 or positive, it means your quadratic equation has two real solutions. The picture of that looks like a parabola that crosses the x-axis twice. Next, let's look at what happens when your discriminant b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. This means that your quadratic equation actually only has one solution. And your picture in this case tells you that your parabola is going to touch the x-axis just one time. And lastly, what happens if my discriminant b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, or gives me a negative number? That means your quadratic equation has no real solution, but it will have two imaginary solutions. A picture of this parabola looks like this on the right, where your parabola is kind of floating up in the air. It's not touching your x-axis or crossing it. Let's take a look at the following example. Let's find the discriminant and the number of solutions the following quadratic equation has. So, my formula for the discriminant says to compute b squared minus 4ac. Alright, first thing we need to do is find what is a, what is b, what is c. So over on the side of my paper, I have a is going to be 2, b is going to be -3, and c is equal to 1. Plugging into my formula, I'm going to have -3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 1. Simplifying, I have 9 minus 8, which is equal to +1. So since this discriminant is greater than 0, that means this quadratic equation is going to touch my x-axis, cross the x-axis twice, so there's going to be two real solutions for this problem. So two parts to the question. The discriminant is 1, and the number of solutions is two real solutions. Last item for section 1.5. Let's talk about the Pythagorean theorem. The formula says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is referring to the right triangle that makes a 90-degree angle. Your A and B represents the legs of the triangle, and your C represents the hypotenuse, or in this case, the longest side of your triangle. Let's take a look at an example. If I have a triangle that's making a 90-degree angle, my legs are going to be 3 and 4, and my hypotenuse is the letter x. So let's solve and find x. Plugging into our formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know my legs are 3 and 4, so that's 3 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. Simplifying, I have 9 plus 16 equals x squared. Simplifying again, I have 25 equals x squared. And now solving for x, I'm going to use the square root method. Opposite of a square is a square root, left and right. Square and square root cancel each other out. Again, when you take the square root sign, you need to add the plus or minus sign in there. Square root of 25 is 5. Now, let's be careful. Even though I took the square root and had to add in that plus or minus sign, we're talking about a triangle, and that is distance. So for distance, we always want to have a positive number. So for this triangle, we only want the +5 solution.